Greetings and welcome to GDS047. My name is Curtis Pembroke and I'll be your instructor for the course this spring. A little bit of information about me. I've been teaching at Mission College now for 20 years. I teach in two departments, graphic design and multimedia and computer applications. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you download and print the syllabus so you have a hard copy of it, and add it so that you can make notes on it, and please add it to a binder, whatever you do, so that you have the syllabus available to you as a reference as we progress through the semester. Again, my name is Curtis Pembroke, and you can reach me via email at curtis.pembroke@wvm.edu or curtis.pembroke@missioncollege.edu. My office is in Gilmore Center, second floor, room 217B. For now, my office hours will be Wednesday and Thursdays. Wednesday, I'll be on campus from 4 to 5:30 p.m. in my office. I have a class on Wednesday nights that starts at 7. So I take a little break between my office hours and the class. And on Thursdays, I'll be online using Zoom, which is a webinar conferencing tool. And the way that works is basically from 4:30 until around 5:15. I'll be taking appointments for one-on-one consultations via the webinar, and the remaining 45 minutes will just be open office hours, and it can be for any course. So if you have something specific that you want to discuss with me, I would recommend that you make an appointment with me between 4:30 and 5:15 on Thursdays, and then I will send you a link to the Zoom conference room, and then we can meet there. And I generally will provide 10-minute windows where we can book an appointment. If it takes a little longer, then we'll book 20 of that time. And then, of course, I have office hours by arrangement if you need to meet with me at any time outside of these hours. Our course meets January 25th through May 22nd. It's completely online, which means I won't ask that you come to campus for any reason. There is a possibility that I might, once or twice through the semester, give you some opportunities to come to the lab and meet me for open lab hours, particularly as we get closer to producing the projects for the course. And there I might be in the lab for 2 or 3 hours that coincide with my office hours, and I'll let you know when we get to that point. Please note our course is entirely online, so you must log into Canvas and review content in the orientation and get that completed by February 3rd so that I know you're officially enrolled in the course. The state requires that I report my enrollment on February 4th, and if I don't see you by February 3rd, I will drop you. And that's just because I'm required to do it by law and the college. If for any reason you decide to drop or you disappear after February 4th, it's your responsibility to withdraw or drop from the class. I will not automatically drop you, please. That's the one thing I'm a stickler on. I will not automatically drop you. You must withdraw on your own if you decide to drop out of the class. And if you don't drop, then it could result in an F, which is something that is very difficult to get in my class. For the most part, students pass my class with ease, and Fs are very rare, very rare. The last day to drop without a W is 2/11. And so I'm not going to make this thing reading by Curtis as much as I want you to read it and sort of digest it. If you have any questions, you can post your questions to our questions forum. But this is an introductory course that focuses on web animation. And we're going to look at web animation from different perspectives and concepts in design and visual communication. And we'll look at the use of animation in UI design, animated characters, as well as storytelling, etc., and in websites. And it's sort of a survey of web animation and understanding the principles. For example, we're going to take a look at how to create banners, page banners and sidebar ads. And as I said before, UIs for mobile interfaces. And then we're going to look at Disney's 12 principles of animation and how they will be applied to web animation. There are no prerequisites, but I do strongly recommend you take GDS045 because as we progress through the class, I will be introducing you to code, but it's not something that you need to know in advance. So early along, we'll be looking at CSS animations and transitions, keyframe animations using CSS, just so you know what that technology looks like. I'm not expecting you to master it. And then we'll take a look at HTML5 canvas and even a little JavaScript as we get towards the end of the class. And I'll give you all the code snippets that you need in terms of JavaScript and explain how all that works. But I do recommend that you have some basic knowledge of HTML and CSS for this class, just basic. You know, you should know what a CSS declaration looks like. Or at least I've heard of it, but we'll get you there. The textbook is Adobe Animate CC Classroom in the book. Adobe slipped a major revision in on us just before Christmas. So the book, most of all the procedures and etc. apply, but the UI is a little different. And you can get this book for free, at least the e-version through O'Reilly, and I'll give you the link to that in the course. And so I would recommend that you use the opportunity to just access the free e-copy of the book because a newer version should be coming out here shortly. Another book I recommend is SVG Animations by Drosner. And this is a great book because Sarah is a leader in web animation and UX, and she really explains how SVG animations are applied in UX and UI design as well as responsive animation. The book does get a little complex and meaty. In fact, towards the very end of class, we'll take a look at one of the libraries, the JavaScript libraries that she covers in her book called GreenSock. And again, I'll just give you an orientation or an introduction to GreenSock, but it's a very powerful animation library, and it's almost on the verge of becoming a platform itself. And it's something that I want to expose you to, and perhaps if you can take GDS89, JavaScript 1, then later decide to work with SVG, you can dive back into GreenSock or at least have it in your design toolkit. Another textbook that I recommend is Animated Storytelling, creating animation and motion graphics, and it's primarily for the web. You do need access to Adobe Animate CC. It's the only product that you'll have to, or software you'll have to purchase. You can get a Creative Cloud license through the California Community College, and I think it's only like $19 a month. If you need the software, we do have it in the labs, and the Tutoring Center has it as well. As I mentioned, you get free access to textbooks at O'Reilly.com. And if you simply go to this link here at Mission College, you'll get all the information. In terms of assignments, you have the orientation for the course. And that's something that you need to do so that, again, I know you're in the course. We have 10 labs worth 200 points. Participation is worth 100 points, and that's a lot of points because we're an online course, and research tells us if students don't participate, they drop out of courses. And then you have a final project and a final exam worth 180 points. Notice there's no midterm or quizzes because the hands-on projects take enough time, and I really want you to be working with the software more than worrying about quizzes. The total is 500 points. In terms of your final project, you're basically going to create a final project, which is an animation that utilizes the principles we learn in class. And it can be simple interactive graphics, infographics as an example, sidebar ads, simple games, slideshows. I have some examples of former projects from previous semesters in this week's module, so you can take a look at them. I need you to email your proposal to me in advance, and I'll tell you when to do that. In terms of grades, this is a standard grading criteria and breakdown. Let me tell you, you already have an A in my class. I look at effort, not perfection. So my goal is to make sure that I expose you to different tools and techniques for web animation and give you a big, survey or overview. I'm not expecting you to leave this class as a web animator, that you can go and work for Pixar or something. The idea is that you see what you can add to your toolkit and you learn the principles, particularly Disney's 12 principles of animation and some principles of UI and UX animation. And so you can see the schedule here and how things will flow and what we'll cover. I'm going to try to expose you to as much as possible. And we'll work a little bit, as I said, with CSS transitions and animations over about 3 weeks, as well as learning Adobe Animate. And Animate will be our core tool, so each week we'll have something to do in Animate. We'll also learn other principles, like here in week 6 and 7, we spend 2 weeks on learning a little bit about HTML5 Canvas and JavaScript and DOM scripting, just a little. Just enough so that later when we get to the more complex projects down the line that require navigation and audio and video, which implies in Adobe Animate that we use a little scripting, and there's a scripting wizard included, but I want you to kind of have an idea of what that wizard is doing. And I have a little extra C there. Just ignore that. And so you can see the flow. I give you 2 weeks really to work on your project. The week before finals and then finals week. There's no final exam. Your final project is your final exam. And your final project will be due the last day of class. And what we'll do is we'll try to have some kind of web showcase on the 22nd where you can upload a link to your project. So if you have any questions, this is the last thing I'll say. You post your questions to the questions forum. So if you have questions about an assignment or something in the reading, I want you to post it in the questions forum, because we're an online course. If you send me an email with a question, since students tend to have the same questions, I have to answer that question 20, 25 times potentially. And so if you post your questions in the question forum, then it's just like class where you raise your hand and then I know you have a question and I can either answer it, or occasionally I will type the words redirect in capital letters, meaning I'm bouncing it back to the class for one of you to answer. And in those forums, I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. However, the first 24 hours, unless it's urgent, and I think that's something that all the students have a problem with, I kind of sit back and I wait for you guys to collaborate. Because remember, you have 100 points for participation. If you have a question of a personal nature, like you need an extension on the homework or assignment beyond, believe it or not, I give you 48 hours automatic extension on all assignments, because I know life gets in the way sometimes. So after 48 hours, if you can't submit an assignment 48 hours after the due date, you might email me and say, Curtis, I can't submit on time because, or within the 48-hour flex, because I need extra time because I have a cold or something. And, I'm pretty flexible. So if you let me know that you have an issue, then I'll give you more than likely a reasonable extension. Okay? So if you have any questions, post your questions in the questions forum. Welcome to GDS047. This first week is dedicated to just getting squared away in Canvas, making sure that you have access to Adobe Creative Cloud, because you'll probably use tools like Illustrator and Photoshop as supplemental to this course, and as well as Adobe Animate. And then we get started in earnest in week 2. Thanks again for taking the class.